Hi, hello, and all that good stuff. My name is Allie. This is Reading Catastrophically. Again, with this one, I'm going to try to make it kind of quick, mainly because I'm sweating balls right now. So much sweating is happening that if I don't hurry this up, my hair is going to be wet before we're finished. This probably isn't the best spot to be filming in. I'm just sitting on my bed, but it works because there's an infant right here. She's right here. She's gonna hang out with us while we talk about some books. So, baby noises, as always, will probably be in the background of the video. If you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you. I have children. Today I'm going to be bringing you my Bookwanderers fall TBR for the fall readathon and the fall challenge, and just all sorts of books that I want to read over the next 3 months. If you don't know what Bookwanderers is, where have you been? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you should check it out. Celine runs it and she is fantastic, and the club is fantastic. There's Discord where we can chat about books. There's a lot of buddy reads that are always happening. It is just really fun, and it's a fun little community that she's got going with the readathons and the monthly book picks and just all sorts of good stuff. I will link everything for it down below, and you can check it out if you want. So every season there is a different readathon for this book club, and obviously now it's going to be the fall readathon. So I have a stack of books here. The first prompt is leaves on the cover, and I decided to go with one that is already in my September TBR, and that is The Graves of Whitechapel by Claire Evans. Obviously there's a bunch of purple leaves all over this cover, and it's a gorgeous cover on top of that. This is a Victorian Gothic about a lawyer who put a murderer away, but maybe it wasn't really the murderer. And I haven't started this yet, but I'm interested, kind of iffy on whether I'm gonna like it. I don't know what it is about this one that gives me, I don't know, vibes, but I don't know. The way of either dark or light academia, and I decided to go with A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. I did start this a long time ago, and I think I read maybe just like a couple chapters, and I was in a reading slump at the time and it just got set aside. But this is one of the books that is a buddy read in the book club as well. A bunch of us are going to be reading this one, and I think I could really like it. I've heard a lot of not so great things. A lot of people don't love it, but I think it might be up my alley. This one was tough, and it's tea or coffee mentioned, and I'm gonna be real. I saw this on Celine's TBR and I went, hey, I've been wanting to read that. I have that on my Kindle. And that was the only way I found a way to fit something in this prompt, and that is Legends and Lattes. That I'm gonna be reading on my Kindle. So here's the cover, cute. This is another one that we're buddy reading at the book club. As you can see, once we all start throwing our TBRs out there, we just kind of decide to buddy read everything, if I'm being real. I don't know a ton about this one, except for it's like kind of D&D themed. It's like slice of life D&D, I think, about like a cafe and adventurers. And it sounds really cute, and I'm really excited to get to it. Then we've got fave genre, and I decided to go with kind of like fave trope, enemies to lovers, and this is also fantasy, which is one of my favorite genres. When it comes to genres, I don't so much have a favorite genre as I just kind of switch moods on one of the genres I feel like reading. So I just went with this as an enemies to lover fantasy, and it's a Hades and Persephone retelling. I already talked about this one. This one's also in my September TBR, so I should be getting to this one soon. We have Cozy Mystery, and this has been TBR'd like 3 times before. It's Green Glass House. I think we're also gonna buddy read this one, which is good because maybe I'll finally get to it. I avoid cozy mysteries as if they are a centipede or so. I like centipedes. What is something as if they are a wasp? I avoid cozy mysteries as if they are a wasp buzzing around outside that I am terrified of. I'm not terrified of cozy mysteries, but I find them incredibly boring. Not my thing. But this is a cozy mystery middle grade, and I actually think that I could like a cozy mystery in a middle grade. I'm gonna give this a go. We're gonna see if it's good or if I just truly despise cozy mystery as a whole. Read a book with a fall themed word. I went with ghost as a fall themed word because, you know, spooky season in fall, ghost. This is not a ghost story by Andrea Portes. I don't know really anything about this. I don't remember where I saw this before. I got this one in a recent book haul. I really like the cover. I literally know absolutely nothing about this. Not a damn thing. And I just gonna leave it that way. As for a book with woods or forest as a type of setting, I decided to go with A Dark and Starless Forest by Sarah Hollowell. This is like a dark fantasy with a fat protagonist, and I'm really excited for that. I know people seem to be hyped for this when I heard about it coming out, but I haven't heard anyone really review it, so I'm interested to see if this is good. I don't know a whole lot more about the plot other than the fact that it's a fantasy with a fat protagonist, and I thought that was just cool. For a book with brown on the cover, I decided to go with Small Angels by Laura Owen. This is a gothic, I think, kind of mystery that I got from Book of the Month. Again, with this one, I don't know very much about it. I don't really need to. I saw that it was listed as something gothic, and it was one of my Book of the Month choices, so I picked it. So here it is. A book with a baking element. Normally I would have found this really hard, but I just finally got my hands on Kiki's Delivery Service by Eiko Kadono. I am so excited to read this. It's so much smaller than I thought it was going to be. It's so tiny. It's so tiny. I have been meaning to get my hands on this forever. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. I love Studio Ghibli movies. This, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle are my top 3 Ghibli films, and I'm so excited to get to this book. I haven't read Howl's Moving Castle yet either. I need to get my hands on that book at some point, but I've heard better things about this one than I have about the novel for Howl's Moving Castle, and I love a witchy middle grade. Absolutely love a witchy middle grade. If it is a witchy middle grade, I need it. I have to own it. I have to read it. They're my favorite kinds of middle grades, so I cannot wait to read this. The last book prompt is furry animal on the cover, and I went with Lobizona. Now, there's not so much a furry animal right here, but right here, right there, there is a wolf. And that is a furry animal, and I just want to get to this one. This is a Latinx werewolf story, and I've been wanting to get my hands on it for a while, and here it is. And I'm feeling the werewolf stories right now. Alright, there are a couple extra prompts that are just bonus prompts. One of those is a movie for fall, and I'm gonna watch Crimson Peak. Hands down, I watch it like 10 times a year. It is one of my all-time favorite movies. I am so obsessed with this freaking movie. It's a gothic, Victorian romance, ghost story. The vibes are truly immaculate in this film. The cinematography is gorgeous. I could watch this movie just for the set. Just for the set alone, I could watch this movie. If you can't tell, I adore it, and I will be watching it again this fall. Then it's bake a fall treat. I don't do a whole lot of baking. I do bake banana bread on occasion. I think I'm gonna try to make a pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving this year though, like by hand. So, then we have the fall challenge, which is kind of just like more readathon almost. It's just more prompts, more fun, and I have a whole stack of books for this, whole big stack. We have a friend's pick, and Abby made me buy this series recently from Abby of Pelennor, and it's the Pelennor series. So I'm gonna get to the first one at least this fall, and that is The Naming. This is by Alison Krogan. I don't know anything about this other than it's a bard fantasy, and I've never actually read a bard fantasy. Abby loves it, so I imagine that it at least isn't going to be terrible. But I don't know what to expect with this because I'd never really heard of it outside of her loving it. All right, my position might have changed a little bit. My camera battery died. Luckily, I have 3 camera batteries that are just always sitting on the charger. So we're ready to go. We have oldest on TBR. Now, I have no idea what the oldest on my TBR is, so I just grabbed one that I know has been on my TBR for a while that I should have gotten to a long time ago. and that is The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. I loved The Night Circus way more than I expected to. I didn't really expect to like it very much, but I loved it. So I need to read this. Continuous series. I'm gonna pick up Frost Heart, Escape from Aurora by Jamie Littler. This looks kind of chunky, but it's a middle grade that also has some illustrations in it and has fairly big text. It should read really fast. I loved the first one. I thought it was really good. And this one I think is gonna be a little bit more just action-packed, and I think we'll learn a little bit more about the magic and the world, which I'm very interested in. So I'm hoping that this is very fun. This is definitely more of a wintry read, but I just want to continue on with some of my middle grade series. This is a book you didn't finish, and I started this sometime in August and put it aside for Middle-earth-a-thon, and that's going to be The Ogress and the Orphans. The dust jacket just isn't on it right now because I was reading it. This is about an ogress and some orphans. Yeah, that's all I got. I only read a couple chapters of it. It's kind of fairy tale-esque. I feel like it's going to be kind of moral of the story kind of deal. I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's probably going to be a 4 or 5 star when I do read it. Under hyped, I picked a book that I haven't heard anybody talk about, and that is Kill the Farm Boy by Delilah S. Dawson and Kevin Hearn. This is basically, I think, a fantasy parody. That's all I know about it. It sounds fun. It sounds like it might just be hilarious. It's just a fantasy parody. It's a comedy and a fantasy, and I've never read anything like that. So I'm gonna give this a shot and see if it's any good, or the reason that I never hear anybody talking about it is because it's terrible. We'll see. An author you're curious about. I went with Laura Purcell. She is a pretty well-known Gothic writer who I haven't read anything from. I haven't read anything from a lot of the like bigger, more well-known, kind of traditional Gothic writers. And this is The Silent Companions. This is another one that's on my September TBR, and it's a Victorian Gothic. A recommendation, and I went with Guild by Raven Kennedy. This was recommended to me by Penny from Blooming Anthology on Instagram. She has a really great bookstagram. She is a friend of mine. She's my best friend's sister, and I've been meaning to get to this for a while, and she was like, you do need to get to that. So here it is for me to get to. This is a spicy King Midas sort of retelling thing, a dark fantasy romance. We have an anthology collection of short stories, and I don't have a lot of these. I don't love short story collections in general, but Hannah sent me this one for my birthday back in June, and this is Parallel Hells by Leon Craig. And this is just a whole bunch of little like horror-y Gothic short stories. It's all by one author, which I think I prefer. I just like when it has a bit more of a cohesive feel, even if it is a collection of separate stories. So we'll see if I like this. I don't know, because anthologies aren't usually my thing, and I tend to just like not finish them. A new author, I went with Amy Bonifants, which is a new to me author. I don't know if she's a new author. This is the only book I've ever seen of hers personally. And this is The Regrets. I just love this cover. This is sort of a romance between this girl and somebody who turns out to be a ghost who can't move on. And I don't know, really it was just a cover by, and it sounds very interesting. This is a book you're not sure you will like anymore, and I picked this up a long time ago on a whim at the bookstore, and this is God's Behaving Badly by Marie Phillips. I love a ridiculous book, but I don't know about this. This is basically if the Greek gods lived on Earth and were like stuck in a cramped apartment and a bunch of them were like party frat boys basically. I don't know. It sounded really entertaining at the time. I don't know if I'm actually going to enjoy this or not. A 5-star prediction. Now I'm bad at 5-star predictions, if I'm being real. Because a lot of times when I predict it's going to be 5 stars, I can tell you probably whether I think it's going to be like a 4 or 5 star, like am I really going to love it? But like as for 5-star predictions, I don't know. I just decided to go with the second in a series that I gave the first one 5 stars, and that's Pages & Co. This is the second, The Lost Fairy Tales. This is the second, right? I think this is the second. If this isn't the second, then I have the second sitting around somewhere because I have the first 3. But I think this is the second. Hopefully. Anyway, I'm gonna continue this series. This is basically a girl who like lives above a bookstore with her grandparents, I think her grandparents, who own the bookstore, and she can go into stories. And I think anything more than that is kind of spoilers because I don't really totally remember. We have fave genre again. This time I just went with something gothic because gothic has stolen my heart in recent years. Thanks, Hannah. I decided to go with NVK by Temple Drake. I don't know a ton about this one either. I think it's like a vampire-y gothic. I don't know. So a book that is intimidating, I decided to go with Pandora by Susan Stokes Chapman. This is on my September TBR and I'm actually planning to start it soon because I think it's gonna take me a long time to read. This is Greek myth, but it feels more literary, and at this point in my life, I'm still kind of intimidated by more literary, if I can even say the word, literary seeming books. I tend to feel like I'm not smart enough for them, but I do enjoy them. So maybe I just need to read more of them and the intimidating factor will wear off. As for a new release, I decided to go with The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. This was another book of the month one, which was last month, which means it's fairly new release. And I don't know a lot about this one either. I think this is kind of like a darker contemporary story, maybe with some sort of horror-y elements. I'm not entirely certain. Then we have an overhyped book, and look, I think all classics are overhyped, okay? We get it. They're classics, they've been around, and everybody just reads them because they're classics. If you like classics, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying I tend to think that they're overhyped. But I have Rebecca, and I plan to read this soon. I think this is more a modern classic, which I do prefer modern classics to the older classics. In general, I don't read a lot of classics, but I've been wanting to read some more of the Gothic classics to kind of see where Gothic literature came from, how it's developed, things like that. And Rebecca is definitely one that people actually seem to still enjoy a lot. And we'll see if I like it. I really liked The Woman in Black, which was a Gothic horror that is a modern classic. I really enjoyed that one a lot. So maybe I'll like this. We have finished a series. Now this one's tough because I'm not at the end of like any series because I never read enough in the series to get to the end. I have a lot of ongoing series, but not really any at the end of. But then I realized I just picked up Rivals, the third in the American Royal series. This is at least for now the last one. I don't know if it's going to be the last one, but this is the last one that's out. This series is absolute trash. It's like watching a terrible reality show about if America had royals, and I love it. This was on my Middle-earth-a-thon TBR, but I did not get to it, so I plan to get to it sometime this fall because I am excited to re-enter my trash. We have a cover by and Nura and the Immortal Palace. Hello, this is one of the most gorgeous middle grade covers I have ever seen. I saw this and I needed it. Also, then I heard that it has Studio Ghibli vibes, and I am just sold. Man, I am sold on this. Lizzie from Lizzie is Elf read this one and said it reads like a younger middle grade. I don't personally mind. I have kids and I like to collect books that I can share with them as they get older. So I'm hoping that this one is good and I can add it to my collection of children's books. Then there's the book you're most excited for. Now, whenever anyone says most, I don't know what to do. What am I, like, I could list probably 20 books that I'm most excited for. So I just picked any one of them. And I decided to go with Tripping Arcadia, which doesn't have its dust jacket right now because I did start it at one point when I was slumping hard and haven't gotten back to it. This I will probably read in October. This is a Gothic about someone who goes to work as like a nurse for this family, and then she ends up learning about poisons and these weird like parties and all sorts of things, and then something happens. We don't know what the something exactly is, and this just caught my attention from the moment that I heard about it, saw it, something about this, and I can't even tell you exactly what it is. Draws me in so much and makes me think I'm going to love it. We have a big book. I decided I'm going to go with Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sayers. I've wanted to read this one for a while, and I don't know, circus gives me kind of fall vibes, you know, like state fairs, festivals and things are all sort of fall things. And this is pretty chunky for a book about a circus. It gives a little bit of the night circus vibes. This takes place on 2 timelines, and I don't know much more about that other than it takes place with main characters who are women around this secret circus in 2 different timelines. For a book that fits the season, I thought this just felt really perfect. This is Over the Woodward Wall by A. Deborah Baker, which is Shauna McGuire. Now, this is actually the book that I believe is mentioned in Middle Game, which I didn't finish, and I don't know if I ever will. Middle Game sounds like something I should love, but I struggle so hard to try to get into that book. But this is like a story that is mentioned in there, and this is a middle grade. It's fairly short, and it kind of gives me Adventure Time, Over the Garden Wall, like those kind of irreverent style kids cartoons kind of vibes. And I really want to give this a go, and it feels like fall to me. It feels like fall to me. One of the prompts is lowest rating, and I just haven't bothered digging for what I want to read for this. I don't want to just go find the lowest rated book on my TBR. I just don't want to do that, because what if I don't feel like reading it? Then I'm just not going to read it. So I think what I'm going to do is try to find a book that I own that I am interested in reading, but that like one of my friends or I've heard people talking about they just aren't really feeling, or that they don't like, and give it a shot myself. For buddy read, there's so many books I could have put here, but I decided to put Babel, which my copy has not arrived yet, but this is another one we're buddy reading in the book club, and I'm not sure about this. So far from what I've heard online for people who started it, they're not loving it and they're finding it kind of boring. But it's a dark academia, and it's by a BIPOC author. The cover is gorgeous. I wasn't originally super interested in it to begin with. I know that it's pretty thick, it's chunker, but you know, it's dark academia. I love dark academia, and it just, you know, I was feeling the FOMO. I really like R.F. Kuang's other book, The Poppy War. I need to continue that series at some point as well. But yeah, I don't know. I decided, screw it, I'm gonna read it too. Then there's an ebook. I know I'm gonna read ebooks at some point. There's a whole bunch of dark romances I plan on reading through the fall here. But the one that I know for sure I'm going to get to is Feral Blood. I just read Captive of Wolves for Middle Earthathon, which I don't know if my vlog will be up yet or not, but you can either find it linked in the description or it will be up soon. I loved it. I gave it 4 stars. It wasn't perfect, obviously. It's a dark fantasy romance fae story with like some Sarah J. Maas vibes, but I really enjoyed it, and I just want to read the whole series. We have a pretty book, and I could not find this one right now, but I have Little Thieves by, I think it's Margaret Owen? It's Margaret something, I'm pretty sure. And this cover, I know nothing about this book, but this is one of my favorite covers. I want to read it. I want to read it, and so I'm gonna read it. I believe that is everything. Now, this child is like trying to eat me, so I'm pretty sure she's hungry. So I'm gonna go feed this little baby. And yeah, thank you for watching. Comment if you are part of Bookwanderers, what you're reading through the fall, what kind of books give you fall vibes. Just talk to me about fall and books in the comments. Or if you're just too tired for a whole ass comment, comment a leaf emoji just to let me know that you were here. If you want to see my TBR specifically for September, that is up and I will link it below. You can go check that out. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. Just had a cheeky little rebrand and I'm really enjoying making content right now. Coming up soon, there will be my Middle Earthathon vlog if it's not already up, a recent reads video, a book haul. those are just some of the things planned. So if you're interested, subscribe, and I will see you next time.